Commander Do-hyun stared at the large screen on the bridge of Earth defense ship Resilience. His dark eyes narrowed as the alien message played again. The message was short but clear. Surrender or die. Play it one more time, Do-hyun ordered, his voice steady despite the weight on his shoulders. Ji-eun, the communications officer, nodded and pressed a button on her console. The alien appeared on screen again. It had scaly green skin, yellow snake-like eyes, and stood much taller than any human. Its voice was deep and cold. People of Earth, I am High Commander Drakthar of the Galactic Hegemony. Your planet now belongs to us. You will accept our rule or face total destruction. You have 6 Earth hours to decide. Choose wisely. The screen went black. The bridge was silent. 20 crew members looked to their commander for hope, for answers. Do-hyun took a deep breath. How long until the deadline? 2 hours and 17 minutes, sir, Ji-eun replied. 3 days ago, life had been normal. Then hundreds of massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit. Each alien ship was larger than the biggest human city. They came without warning. The giant mothership was 5 miles long and shaped like a spear. Smaller ships, still huge by Earth standards, surrounded it, like loyal guards. Status of our defense fleet? Do-hyun asked. Taewon, a young man with steady hands and sharp eyes, checked his tactical screen. All 30 ships in position behind the moon, sir, hidden from their sensors, as ordered. Do-hyun nodded. 30 ships against hundreds. It seemed hopeless. But the aliens didn't know everything about humanity. Sir, said Ji-eun suddenly. Call from Admiral Song. Put him through. The main screen changed to show Admiral Song Jin-ho. He was 60 years old with gray hair and a face marked by years of hard decisions. He was on Earth, in the underground command center built inside Mount Hala. Commander, is your crew ready? The Admiral asked. Yes, sir. But with respect, 30 ships won't do much against their fleet. Admiral Song's face remained calm. They're not supposed to. The first phase is only a test. Do-hyun understood. This was part of a larger plan, one that had started 15 years ago when humans found the alien ruins on Mars. The ruins contained technology from a long-dead race, technology that humanity had secretly studied and improved. Sir, the enemy. Ships are changing position, Taewon reported. They're moving into attack formation. Do-hyun wasn't surprised. The aliens never expected Earth to accept their terms. This was just how they began all conquests. A show of force, then an impossible demand, followed by an attack that would teach the primitives a lesson. Sir, Ji-eun said, we're getting emergency broadcasts from cities worldwide. The alien ships are deploying smaller craft. They're starting to enter the atmosphere. On the tactical screen, Do-hyun could see red dots representing alien ships spreading out above major cities. They were following the standard invasion plan found in the Mars records. First, destroy some military targets. Second, attack a few population centers. Third, wait for the planet to surrender. But Earth wouldn't follow the standard response of fear and submission. It's time, Admiral Song said on the screen. Commence Operation Thermopylae. Do-hyun nodded and turned to his crew. Battle stations. All hands prepare for combat. We fight not just for ourselves, but for all humanity. The crew moved with purpose. Fear pushed aside by training and determination. The Resilience hummed as weapon systems came online. Send the signal to all ships, Do-hyun ordered. Move out from behind the moon and engage the enemy. Focus on their smaller ships first. Ji-eun sent the orders. Across the bridge, screens lit up as 30 Earth vessels moved into view of the alien armada. They were small compared to the alien ships, but they were humanity's best, or so the hegemony was meant to believe. They've spotted us, Taewon reported. Enemy vessels changing course to intercept. Do-hyun stood tall. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Fire when ready. Earth's ships accelerated toward the alien fleet. The first shots were fired, bright beams of energy crossing the void of space. An alien ship's shields flared as they absorbed the hit. Their shields are holding, Taewon said. Keep firing, Do-hyun ordered. We need to look like we're giving everything we've got. The The space between Earth and Moon became a battlefield of light and fire. Earth ships moved quickly, firing constantly. They targeted the smaller alien vessels, avoiding the mothership. "Sir, the Defiant has been hit," Ji-yoon called out. On the screen, one of Earth's ships spun out of control, its side torn open. Do-hyun gripped his chair. These were real people, real losses. But this was war, and sometimes sacrifices had to be made. "Continue the attack," he said, his voice firm. More Earth ships were hit. The Resilience shook as enemy fire grazed their shields. "Shields at 60%, reported Minho from the engineering station. The battle continued. Earth ships fought bravely, destroying 3 alien vessels before another 2 human ships were lost. "Sir," Ji-yoon said, "Admiral Song is calling again." Song's face appeared on screen. Behind him, military officers moved quickly around the command center. "Commander, we're getting what we need. The hegemony is focused on your fleet now. Their attention is exactly where we want it." Do-hyun understood. While this battle raged near Earth, something else was happening far away in the solar system. "How much longer do you need, sir?" he asked. "Just keep them busy for 30 more minutes," Song replied. "Make it look good." The ship rocked again, as another hit struck them. "Shields at 40%, Minho called out. Do-hyun nodded to Admiral Song. "We'll hold them, sir." The screen changed back to the battle view. Do-hyun watched as his fleet fought against impossible odds. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but every minute they kept fighting was a minute gained for humanity's true plan. In the outer reaches of the solar system, hidden among the icy bodies of the Kuiper Belt, Commander Yoon Mi-rae received the signal she had been waiting for. Around her, 300 advanced warships began powering up. These were Earth's real fleet, ships built with technology the aliens couldn't imagine humans possessing. "All ships report ready, Commander," her second-in-command said. Mi-rae nodded. "Begin the operation." Back near Earth, Do-hyun's ship took another hit. The lights flickered and smoke filled part of the bridge. "Shields at 20%, Minho reported, his voice strained but steady. "Keep fighting," Do-hyun ordered. "We just need to hold a little longer." Unknown to the hegemony, their easy conquest was about to face humanity's real strength. The battle had only just begun. Admiral Song Jin-ho stood tall before the Emergency Planetary Council. The room was deep underground, safe from alien scans. 20 world leaders sat around a large round table, their faces tense with worry. "How bad is it?" asked President Kim, her voice steady despite the fear all leaders were feeling. Admiral Song touched a button on his wrist device. A 3D image appeared above the table, showing Earth and the space around it. Red dots showed alien ships, blue dots showed human ships. There were many more red dots than blue. "Our defense fleet is fighting bravely," Song said, "but they cannot win, not against these numbers." "Then we are doomed," said Chancellor Ryu, his old face pale with worry. "No," Song said firmly. "We are not doomed. The hegemony only thinks they know our true strength." He pressed another button. The image zoomed out to show the whole solar system. Far beyond Earth, past Mars and Jupiter, past even the orbit of Pluto, a new cluster of blue dots appeared. "What are we looking at?" asked General Han Newell, leaning forward. "Project Stiletto," Song replied. "Our real fleet." The room filled with surprised whispers. Many of the leaders looked confused. "For 15 years, Song continued, we have been building ships in secret. Ships based on technology we found in the Mars ruins. The hegemony thinks they are facing our main defense force. They are not." "You mean our ships fighting right now are sacrifices?" President Kim asked, her voice sharp with concern. Song's face showed no emotion, but his eyes held pain. "Every ship is crewed by volunteers who know their mission. They are buying us time with their lives." The image changed to show a close-up of one of the blue dots in the outer solar system. It was a ship unlike any Earth had publicly built before. Sleek and deadly, with strange patterns glowing along its hull. 300 ships, Song said. Equipped with technology the hegemony doesn't know we have. Quantum displacement drives, graviton weapons, advanced shields. Why didn't we use these ships to defend Earth directly? Asked one of the leaders. Because the hegemony follows a pattern, Song explained. They always attack with just part of their force first. They test their enemy's strength before committing their main fleet. If we had shown our true strength immediately, they would have called in their entire armada. He zoomed the image back to Earth where the battle continued. Right now they think they're winning against a primitive species. By the time they realize their mistake, it will be too late. In the cold darkness of the Kuiper Belt, Commander Yoon Mi-rae stood on the bridge of the Shadow of Earth, the largest ship humanity had ever built. Unlike the ships fighting near Earth, this vessel had never been seen by the public. It was humanity's best-kept secret. "All ships report ready, Commander," said her tactical officer. Kang Mi-rae nodded. She was young to hold such command, only 36, but she had trained for this moment her entire adult life. "Begin Phase 2, she ordered. "Quantum jump coordinates are set for all ships." We arrived directly behind their fleet. Around her, the crew worked at stations filled with technology that looked almost alien. In truth, it was alien technology that humans had studied, improved, and made their own. "Quantum drives engaging in 30 seconds, announced the ship's pilot. Hwan Mi-rae opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Commander Mi-rae to all ships. The fate of our planet rests on what we do next. The enemy believes they face a primitive species barely able to reach our own moon. Today we show them how wrong they are." She paused, looking at the image of Earth on her screen. A small blue dot so far away. "For Earth," she said simply. "For Earth," her crew echoed. The strange patterns on the hull of every ship in the hidden fleet began to glow brighter. The quantum displacement drives activated, bending space itself around the vessels. In an instant, 300 ships vanished from the Kuiper Belt. Near Earth, Commander Do-hyun's ship shook violently as another hit struck its failing shields. "Shields at 5%, Minho reported, his face covered in sweat as he worked to keep systems running. "3 more of our ships destroyed, sir," Ji-yeon said, her voice tight with emotion. "Only 11 ships remain operational." Do-hyun knew they couldn't last much longer, but they had bought almost 30 minutes of time. He hoped it was enough. "Sir," Tae-won suddenly called out, his eyes wide. "I'm detecting quantum disruptions behind the enemy fleet." Do-hyun felt a surge of hope. On screen, the main screen changed to show the space behind the hegemony's armada. Space itself seemed to ripple and twist. Then, like ghosts becoming solid, hundreds of ships appeared. Human ships. Ships the enemy had never seen before. "It's Mi-rae's fleet," Do-hyun said, a smile crossing his tired face. "Right on time." On the hegemony mothership, High Commander Drakthar was enjoying the easy victory. The primitive humans fought with surprising skill, but their technology was far too weak to pose any real threat. "Sir," his sensor officer reported suddenly, "we have new contacts appearing behind our fleet." "What?" Drakthar turned to the tactical display. "That's impossible. Nothing could approach without us detecting it." But the evidence was on the screen. Hundreds of ships had appeared from nowhere, already inside the hegemony's defensive perimeter. "Where did they come from?" he demanded. "Unknown. Sir, they just appeared. Scan them." The sensor officer worked quickly, then looked up with confusion and fear. "Sir, they're human vessels. But the technology, it's not matching our intelligence reports. These ships have energy readings similar to our own fleet." Drakthar's reptilian face showed shock. "That's not possible. Humans are a primitive species." Another officer spoke up. "Sir, they're powering weapons." Commander Mi-rae gave the order without hesitation. "All ships, target enemy vessels, weapons free." The human fleet fired as one, but these weren't the simple energy weapons the hegemony had faced so far. These were graviton lances, weapons that distorted gravity itself, tearing ships apart at their structural seams. Alien vessels began to break apart, not from explosions, but from being pulled in different directions by invisible forces. Their shields, designed to stop energy and physical projectiles, did nothing against weapons that attacked space itself. First wave of targets destroyed, Kang reported. Moving to secondary targets. Mireille nodded. Send the signal to Earth Command. Phase 2 is successful. In the underground command center, Admiral Song watched the battle unfold. The alien fleet was in chaos, caught completely by surprise. It's working, said President Kim, watching the display with amazement. Yes, Song agreed. Now it's time for Phase 3. He turned to his communications officer. Prepare the diplomatic vessel, and get me Commander Do Hyun. Do Hyun's tired face appeared on screen. His ship was damaged but still functional. Commander, Song said, your fleet has done its job. Pull back and regroup. It's time to deliver our message to the hegemony. Do Hyun nodded. Yes, sir. And the message? Admiral Song's expression was stern but satisfied. Tell them that what they've seen so far is just our defensive screen. Tell them our main fleet hasn't even entered the battlefield yet. But sir, Do Hyun said with confusion, Mireille's fleet is our main force. Song smiled slightly. They don't need to know that. Sometimes the fear of what might exist is more powerful than what actually does. Do Hyun understood. It was a bluff, but a bluff backed by enough real power to make it believable. I'll deliver the message, sir, he said. As the screen went dark, Song looked at the battle display. The tide had turned. Now it was the hegemony's turn to learn fear. High Commander Drakthar could not believe what he was seeing. His mighty fleet, which had conquered 17 worlds before Earth, was in chaos. 20 of his ships had already been destroyed by weapons he did not understand. How is this possible? He hissed, his scaled hands gripping his command chair. These humans were supposed to be primitive. His second-in-command, Vextrol, studied the battle display with horror. Sir, these new human ships, they're using technology similar to our own. Some of it appears even more advanced. Impossible. Drakthar slammed his fist on the armrest. Our intelligence said they had only just reached their own moon with crude rockets 50 years ago. A communications officer turned from his station. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from one of the human vessels. Drakthar straightened his tall frame. Put it on screen. Let me see these creatures who dare to challenge the hegemony. The large screen at the front of the bridge flickered, then showed a human face. It was Commander Do Hyun, looking calm despite the damage visible on his bridge behind him. This is Commander Do Hyun of Earth Defense Forces, he said in a clear, steady voice. I have a message for your High Command. Drakthar leaned forward. I am High Commander Drakthar. Speak your last words before we destroy what remains of your pathetic species. Do Hyun's expression did not change. What you have encountered so far is merely our defensive screen. As you can now see, our first fleet has entered the battlefield. First fleet? Drakthar repeated, a cold feeling growing inside him. Yes, Do Hyun continued. The ships you face now are simply our forward scouts. Our main battle fleet has not yet entered the battle. The bridge of the hegemony mothership fell silent. You lie, Drakthar finally said, but doubt had entered his voice. Observe your tactical display, Do Hyun replied calmly. Note the different classes of vessels now engaging your forces. These are experimental designs, testing platforms for technologies being perfected for our main fleet. The camera panned across Do Hyun's bridge, showing humans working at stations with technology clearly matching or exceeding hegemony standards. You came to our world expecting an easy conquest, Do Hyun said. You should have done better research. The screen went black. Commander Mireille's fleet pressed their advantage. The Shadow of Earth led the attack, its graviton lances tearing through alien vessels with terrifying ease. Enemy ships are regrouping, reported Kang. They're forming a defensive formation around their mothership. Mireille nodded. They're recovering from their surprise. Now the real battle begins. She studied the tactical display. The enemy still outnumbered them, but the humans had better position and the advantage of superior weapons technology. All ships. Execute attack pattern Falcon, she ordered. Focus fire on their command vessels. The human fleet moved as one, splitting into 3 groups that attacked the alien formation from different angles. The graviton weapons continued to tear alien ships apart. "Commander," her communications officer called out. "Signal from Earth Command. Admiral Song requests to speak with you." Admiral Song's face appeared on her screen. "Commander Mireille, excellent work. The enemy is in disarray." "Thank you, sir," she replied. "But they still have significant numbers. This battle is far from over. That's why we're moving to the next phase," Song said. "Commander Do-hyun has delivered our message. The hegemony now believes this is only our first fleet, with a main fleet still waiting." Mireille understood immediately. A bluff to make them think twice about continuing the fight. "Exactly. But to sell it, we need to change tactics. Withdraw half your ships to the dark side of Mars, sir. Make it look like we're rotating forces, bringing in fresh ships while others return to a staging area. It will reinforce the idea that what they're seeing is only part of our strength." Mireille smiled slightly. "Clever, sir. I'll implement immediately." On the bridge of the Resilience, Do-hyun watched as Mireille's fleet executed their new orders. His own ship, damaged but still functional, had pulled back to a safe distance. "Sir," Ji-hyun said, "I'm picking up increased communications among the enemy fleet. They seem to be arguing." "Good," Do-hyun replied. "They're uncertain." Taiwan looked up from his tactical station. "Commander, a portion of Mireille's fleet is pulling back toward Mars, just as Admiral Song ordered. And the enemy's reaction? They're not pursuing. In fact, some of their ships are beginning to fall back as well." Do-hyun nodded with satisfaction. "They believe our bluff. They think we're rotating in fresh ships." A new voice came over the comm system. "Commander Do-hyun, this is Admiral Song. Report to the diplomatic vessel immediately. We're moving to the next phase." The diplomatic vessel Olive Branch was small but impressive. Unlike the warships, it was designed to project power through elegance rather than weapons. Its hull gleamed with a pearl-like finish, and it moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something its size. Do-hyun arrived on the bridge where Admiral Song waited. The Admiral looked tired but pleased. "Commander, well done," Song said. "Your delivery of our message was perfect." "Thank you, sir." "Do you think they believed it?" "Look at the tactical display." Song gestured to a large screen. "Their fleet is pulling back into a defensive posture. They're scared." Do-hyun studied the screen. The alien ships were indeed regrouping, no longer pressing the attack. "What now, sir?" "Now," Song said with a slight smile, "we negotiate from a position of strength." He turned to the communications officer. "Open a channel to the hegemony mothership." The officer worked at his station. "Channel open, sir." Admiral Song straightened his uniform and stood tall before the camera. "This is Admiral Song Jin-ho of Earth requesting to speak with High Commander Drakthar on matters of immediate importance." After a moment, Drakthar's reptilian face appeared on screen. He looked less confident than before. "Speak, human," he said, trying to maintain his commanding tone. "High Commander," Song began, "this conflict can end now. As you have seen, we are not the primitive species your intelligence suggested. We possess technology and capabilities that make this war costly, for both sides." Drakthar's eyes narrowed. "You have shown some unexpected abilities, but the hegemony does not retreat." "No one is asking you to retreat," Song replied smoothly. "I am proposing a cessation of hostilities and the beginning of diplomatic relations." "The hegemony does not negotiate with lesser species," Drakthar insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. "Then perhaps," Song said, his voice growing colder, "you would prefer to see our main battle fleet enter the engagement? The ships you have faced so far are merely our forward elements." He paused, letting the threat sink in. "I should also mention that we have identified the location of your home fleet. Our long-range sensors detected them waiting at the edge of the solar system. Should this conflict continue, they will be our first target." This was another bluff. Humans had no such capability yet. But the hegemony didn't know that. Drakthar's eyes widened slightly. "You are well informed." We have been preparing for first contact for decades, Song said. We hoped it would be peaceful. You chose war. We are giving you the chance to correct that mistake. There was silence as Drakthar appeared to consider his options. I will consult with my superiors, he finally said. There will be a temporary halt to our offensive operations. Wise decision, Song replied. We await your response. Earth out. As the screen went dark, Do-hyun turned to the Admiral. Sir, do you think they'll really negotiate? Admiral Song's face showed the weariness of the day, but also satisfaction. They have no choice. They came expecting an easy victory against primitives. Instead, they found an advanced civilization with weapons that can tear their ships apart. And they believe we have an even larger fleet waiting. He looked at the tactical display where the alien fleet was clearly regrouping rather than attacking. Fear, he said quietly, is often more powerful than weapons. 3 days had passed since the battle. The hegemony fleet remained in Earth orbit but at a safe distance. Their ships no longer pointed weapons at the planet. Instead, they waited as their leaders spoke with human representatives aboard the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch. Ji-yoon had been chosen to join the diplomatic team because of her skill with languages. She sat beside Admiral Song and Commander Do-hyun in the large meeting room. Across the table sat High Commander Drakthar and 3 other alien officials. Your terms are unusual, Drakthar said, his reptilian eyes narrowed. The hegemony has conquered 17 worlds. None have asked for what you call equal standing. Admiral Song remained calm. Earth is not like those other worlds. As you have seen, we are not helpless. We do not seek war, but we will not accept being ruled. One of the other aliens, a female, called Shenva, spoke up. Your technology is impressive, particularly your quantum displacement drives and graviton weapons. She paused. Where did you acquire such things? Do-hyun and Ji-yoon exchanged quick glances. This was a dangerous question. Admiral Song answered carefully. We developed them ourselves based on principles we discovered through our own research. This wasn't entirely true. The basic designs had come from the Mars ruins, but humans had improved them greatly. The aliens didn't need to know that. In 17 conquests, Drakthar said, we have never encountered a species that developed such technology independently at your stage of development. Perhaps, Admiral Song suggested, your method of judging development stages is flawed. Drakthar made a sound that might have been a laugh. Perhaps. Or perhaps you are not telling us everything. The room grew tense. Ji-yoon noticed the aliens' guards shifting slightly, hands near their weapons. Admiral Song smiled slightly. High Commander, there are many things we are not telling you, just as there are many things you are not telling us. That is the nature of first meetings between powerful civilizations. But what matters now is finding a path forward that doesn't lead to more destruction. Drakthar was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Show me your main fleet. Admiral Song didn't blink. That would not be wise at this stage of our discussions. If we are to believe your claims of power, Drakthar insisted, we must see evidence. You have seen enough evidence, Do-hyun said firmly. 27 of your ships destroyed. Your attack repelled. Is that not sufficient? Shenva leaned forward. Our leaders require more. They find it difficult to believe that a species that achieved spaceflight only 50 years ago now possesses technology equal to or greater than our own. Ji-yoon decided to speak. Perhaps that is why you lost the battle, honored Shenva. You assumed we were weak because we are young. The alien female turned her yellow eyes to Ji-yoon. A fair point, human. Youth does not always mean weakness, but it rarely means great strength either. Admiral Song stood up suddenly. I believe we've talked enough for today. We will continue tomorrow. In the meantime, I have a suggestion. All eyes turned to him. Since you wish to see more evidence of our capabilities, I invite High Commander Drakthar to visit one of our shipyards. Not where our main fleet is housed, of course, but a facility where you can observe some of our technology firsthand. Drakthar's Scales seemed to bristle with interest. This is acceptable. The Mars Orbital Shipyard was not Earth's largest or most advanced facility, but it was impressive enough. It had been built openly, one of the few places where some of the reverse-engineered alien technology was used publicly, though disguised as human innovation. Du Hyun stood next to High Commander Drakthar as they looked through the viewing window of a shuttle approaching the massive structure. The shipyard was a ring around Mars, with docking stations for vessels under construction. This is one of our smaller facilities, Do Hyun explained casually. Drakthar's eyes widened slightly. Smaller? Yes. Most of our advanced construction happens elsewhere. This was true, though those other locations were hidden throughout the Yab, asteroid belt and beyond, not gathered in one place as the statement implied. The shuttle docked with the station. Do Hyun led Drakthar and 2 hegemony scientists through the corridors. Workers nodded respectfully as they passed, trying not to stare at the tall aliens. They entered a large observation deck overlooking the main construction bay. 3 ships were being built, each about half the size of a hegemony cruiser. These are our new Explorer-class vessels, Do Hyun said, designed for deep space research, but equipped with defensive capabilities. One of the alien scientists pointed to the glowing patterns on the ship's hulls. Those are quantum stabilization matrices. How did you develop them? Du Hyun had been briefed on what to say. Our scientists made a breakthrough about 15 years ago in understanding space-time folding. These matrices are the result. The alien looked skeptical. Such breakthroughs usually take centuries of research. Unless, Do Hyun said with a smile, you're looking in the right place to begin with. He led them to another section where workers were installing what appeared to be weapon systems on one of the ships. Graviton lances, Drakthar observed. The same weapons your fleet used against us. An earlier version, Do Hyun corrected. Our military vessels have more advanced models. This was another careful truth. These were indeed earlier versions, but the difference was small. As they continued the tour, Do Hyun could see the growing concern in the aliens' expressions. They were realizing that humans were much more advanced than they had believed. Back on the diplomatic vessel, Ji-eun was helping prepare for the next round of talks when Admiral Song called her to his private office. How is our guest enjoying his tour? He asked. Commander Do Hyun reports that High Commander Drakthar is suitably impressed, Ji-eun replied. The scientists with him are especially concerned about our graviton weapons. Song nodded with satisfaction. Good. And the other matter? Ji-eun handed him a data tablet. We've intercepted communications from the hegemony mothership to their home fleet. They're requesting reinforcements but also advising caution. They believe we might be more dangerous than they initially thought. Excellent, Song said. And has Commander Mirai's fleet completed its repositioning? Yes, sir. Half of her ships are now hiding behind Mars's moons, ready to emerge if needed. The other half remain in Earth orbit, visible to the hegemony. The constant movement between the two groups continues to create the impression of a much larger fleet rotating forces. Admiral Song smiled. Our deception is working. They believe we have more ships than we actually do. Ji-eun hesitated, then asked, Sir, what happens when they discover the truth, that we don't have a main fleet waiting? By then, Song said, confidently, it won't matter. We'll have a peace treaty signed and formal relations established. Breaking that peace would cost them too much, even if they learn we bluffed about our numbers. He stood and walked to a window looking out at Earth. Besides, what they don't know is that we're building more ships every day. Soon we'll have the fleet we claim to have all along. When Drakthar returned from Mars, he immediately went to the communications room on his mothership. His second-in-command Vextral waited for him. Well, Vextral asked, what did you see? Trouble, Drakthar replied grimly. Their technology is real, their shipyards are impressive, and they claim to have even larger facilities elsewhere. Do you believe them? Drakthar was silent for a moment. I'm not sure, but I saw enough to know that conquering this planet would cost us more ships than we can afford to lose. He moved to the communications console and began entering codes. What are you doing? Vextral asked. Sending a message to the High Council, Drakthar answered, recommending that we accept the humans' offer of peace and equal standing. Bextral looked shocked. The hegemony has never granted equal status to any species we've encountered. We've never encountered a species like this before, Drakthar said. One that hides its true strength until provoked. He turned to his second-in-command with a serious expression. The humans have a saying their admiral shared with me. Don't judge a book by its cover. I believe we made that mistake with Earth. 1 year later, Ji-un stood before the great curved window of the Galactic Assembly Hall. The massive space station hung in orbit around a neutral star, built by the hegemony centuries ago as a meeting place for the species they had conquered. No non-hegemony species had ever been allowed to speak here as equals, until today. Are you nervous? Asked Do-hyun, now Captain Do-hyun after his promotion. Ji-un smoothed her formal diplomatic uniform. A little. I never thought I would be Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy. You earned it, Do-hyun said with a smile. Your work during the peace talks was brilliant. Ji-un looked out at the stars. So much had changed in 1 year. The peace treaty with the hegemony had been signed 3 months after the battle. Earth was recognized as a sovereign power with rights to its own solar system and permission to trade with other worlds. Most importantly, Earth was not a conquered world. It was the first planet in hegemony history to join the galactic community as an equal. It's time, said Admiral Song, approaching them. Though his hair had more gray now, he stood tall and proud. The assembly is ready for you, Ambassador Ji-un. She nodded and took a deep breath. Let's make history. The Galactic Assembly Hall was enormous. In the center was a raised platform where speakers stood. Around it, in rising tiers, sat representatives from 37 different species. All had been conquered by the hegemony at some point in the past. All watched with curious eyes as the human delegation entered. The hegemony High Council sat on the highest tier. 9 reptilian aliens in elaborate robes, they ruled over thousands of worlds. High Commander Drakthar sat among them, recently promoted for his wisdom in avoiding an unnecessary and costly war. Ji-un walked confidently to the central platform. Admiral Song and Captain Do-hyun took seats in the special section reserved for her support team. Honored representatives of the galaxy, Ji-un began, her voice clear and strong in the perfect acoustics of the hall. I stand before you as the first ambassador from Earth, bringing greetings from humanity. The hall was silent, all eyes on this small human female who spoke without fear to the most powerful gathering in known space. 1 year ago, our worlds met in conflict. Today, we meet in peace. This change shows what is possible when different species choose cooperation over conquest. Several of the High Council members shifted uncomfortably. The hegemony had never chosen cooperation before. Earth had forced it upon them. Humanity does not seek dominion, Ji-un continued. But neither will we accept subjugation. The treaty between Earth and the hegemony creates a new model for relations between our civilizations. She gestured to data screens that appeared around the hall, showing the key points of the treaty: equal trade rights, mutual defense agreements, cultural exchange programs. These are the foundations of true peace. Representatives from the other species began to whisper among themselves. Such terms were unheard of in hegemony history. Earth brings new technologies we have developed independently, Ji-un said. We wish to share these advances through fair trade with peaceful civilizations. This was still the careful half-truth that Earth's leaders had agreed upon. The original technology had come from the Mars ruins, but humans had truly made it their own through years of study and improvement. But know this, Ji-un's voice grew stronger. Earth's full military capacity has never been revealed. What the hegemony encountered was our exploratory fleet. The whispers grew louder. Many representatives looked to the High Council with new interest. A species that could force the mighty hegemony to negotiate as equals must be powerful indeed. We hope to never need our main fleet, Ji-un concluded. We prefer to meet you as friends and partners in exploring this vast galaxy. The choice is yours. Thank you. She bowed slightly and returned to her seat. The hall erupted in sounds as representatives from many worlds began talking at once. Later, in a private meeting room, Ji-un, Do-yun, and Admiral Song met with representatives from 3 other species. These were not hegemony officials but leaders from worlds that had been conquered long ago. "Your speech was remarkable, Ambassador," said Krell, a being with blue skin and 4 arms. "Never before has any species spoken to the High Council as an equal." "We found our own path," Ji-un replied simply, "as I'm sure your people did as well before the hegemony came." Krell nodded sadly. "We were once proud explorers. Now we are administrators and merchants for our conquerors." "Perhaps that can change," suggested Admiral Song. "The treaty between Earth and the hegemony creates new possibilities." The third alien, a female named Orla, with feathers instead of hair, leaned forward. "Is it true? Do you really have a main fleet more powerful than what faced the hegemony?" Ji-un caught Do-hyun's eye. This was the question they had expected. "What matters," Ji-un answered carefully, "is that the hegemony believes it might be true." That belief brought them to the negotiating table. "A clever strategy," said the second alien, Tuvix, whose skin shifted colors as he spoke, "but dangerous if discovered." "All great changes involve risk," Admiral Song said. "The important thing is that we now have peace and recognition." Krell looked at the humans with new respect. "You have given our people something we had lost. Hope." High above Earth, Commander Mireille stood on the observation deck of the Shadow of Earth. The ship was docked at the new orbital defense station, undergoing upgrades. "Commander," a young officer approached her. "The new graviton lance modifications are complete. Power output is increased by 30%. Mireille nodded. "Excellent. And the quantum drive enhancements?" "Still in progress. The engineers say they need another week." She smiled slightly. "No rush. We're at peace now." The officer hesitated. "Commander, is it true what Ambassador Ji-un said at the Galactic Assembly, that our fleet was just an exploratory force?" Mireille turned to look at the blue Earth below them. "What do you think, Lieutenant?" "I think we had 300 of our most advanced ships in that battle. That was our entire navy." "Yes," Mireille agreed. "At that time," she gestured to the shipyard extending from the station, 7 new vessels were under construction, each more advanced than those that had fought the hegemony. But the ambassador didn't lie. Those ships were exploratory, the first step in humanity's journey to the stars. And what we're building now is indeed our main fleet. On Earth, in the underground command center below Mount Hala, President Kim met with her top scientists and military leaders. "The diplomatic mission is a success," she told them. "Ambassador Ji-un has presented our case to the galaxy. Now we must ensure we can back up our words with action." Chief Scientist Han gestured to the holographic display showing the solar system. "The new shipyards in the asteroid belt are at full production. We've improved the designs based on what we learned during the battle." "And what about Project Horizon?" the president asked. General Hanyul touched a control, and the display changed to show a massive structure taking shape in orbit around Jupiter. "On schedule. When complete, it will be 10 times the size of any hegemony vessel ever built." "President," Kim nodded with satisfaction. "Good. Peace through strength has gotten us this far. But we must remember the lessons of the Mars ruins." Everyone in the room knew what she meant. The ruins had been left by a species that had grown powerful, then vanished. Their technology survived, but they did not. "We will not repeat their mistakes," she said firmly. "We will use our strength not for conquest, but for protection and exploration. Earth's future lies among the stars, as equals with other intelligent beings, not as conquerors or the conquered." She looked at the display showing humanity's growing fleet. "The hegemony believed we were bluffing about our main fleet. Let's make sure that by the time they realize we were, it's no longer a bluff." In his private chambers on the hegemony homeworld, High Counselor Drakthar reviewed the reports from Earth. Human activity had increased throughout their solar system. New structures were appearing in orbit and beyond. Their ships were venturing farther from their planet. "They are expanding quickly," noted his aide. "Yes," Drakthar agreed. "But not aggressively. They build, they explore, but they do not threaten." Some on the council question your decision to grant them equal status. They say we should have called their bluff about their main fleet. Drakthar made a sound that humans would recognize as laughter. Then those council members are fools. The humans may or may not have been bluffing then, but I have seen their shipyards, their technology, their determination. If they didn't have a main fleet a year ago, they certainly will soon. He turned to look at the stars visible through his window. Remember this lesson, young one. It is not the enemy's current strength that should concern you, but their potential, and the human's potential seems unlimited. End.